Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Somebody say my name? I thought I heard it. How you doing? Hello there, and a good morning at you. It is, time flies, June 27th, 2023. It's a Tuesday, and who knows? Maybe Susan's there.
Hi.
You did that on purpose.
I did.
I figured. I knew you were doing it on purpose, so I didn't panic.
Good.
Hi. Just excuse me just for a minute. I just want to get Susan, is a nomadic, and you're in Green Bay, right?
I am awaiting tons of people.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Just asking. I'm heading that way, as you know.
I do. I'm in the beginning of preparations for all of the festivities.
Oh God! All right, goody. Okay, so there's so much stuff I've got here. Here's what's happened. I see something that I find interesting, and I send it to myself. So I have it here in front of me, and it's been piling up, so that there's all these things that I have intended to talk about that I haven't, and I think we're going to do some house cleaning today. Okay?
Terrific.
Unless there's something that's really, really, really,
No, I got nothing. I've been,
okay,
looking around since early this morning, so go for it. Okay.
Well, this one has absolutely nothing to do with anything. It has to do with an observation of mine after watching Turner Classic Movies the other day, and watching Doris Day in some stupid movie. But what was bizarre about it was that she, no matter what was happening to her character, no matter what time of day or her hair and makeup were
always perfect.
Perfection. I mean, the platonic ideal of it was not anything out.
No, and I never got Doris Day. I mean, even contemporaneously, you know what I mean? I just didn't, well, I suppose I understand why I didn't.
Sweet.
Yeah.
She's a little too pert and sweet and giggly or something. But she actually had a lot of talent. She
totally had a lot of talent. It's the way they marketed her that was so awful.
Well, so anyway, it has nothing to do with her. It has to do with the fact that I grew up, as did you, as did all women, watching movies in which women would wake up in the morning in full makeup and their hair done. I mean, while their head's on the pillow. You know what I mean?
You haven't heard the stories about women that would get up 2 hours before their husbands, put on makeup and do their hair, and then crawl back into bed as if they woke up that way?
No.
Yeah. There were actually lunatics that did that.
Oh, God.
When I get so angry about the culture and how this is what I'm talking about, it was poured into us.
I know. So this is, okay, so those women who actually would do such a thing, would be the minority. The majority of us didn't, but we felt embarrassed or ugly or something was wrong with us, or how could anybody possibly, look at us when we were disheveled and not perfect. I what were they thinking when they made movies and women would go to bed with all
well,
that?
Excuse me. Let's go back and check your pronoun. They weren't making movies. Let's discuss who was making movies.
Well, I know men, right? Of course, but even then, let's say that there was a director who had some sense of reality. Why would they? I don't know. All I can say is, in watching like television shows that showed the perfect family that bore no resemblance to, your family, that this kind of stuff, boy, did it screw with kids' heads and sense of what we were supposed to do. So, I mean, as I was watching that one, I was reminded, looking at her, the perfection. She could have been in a raging hurricane, and I swear to God, not a hair would be out of place, and she'd probably have a perky smile, and no one making the movie would say, this is sort of ridiculous. But they never did. So was there this, I don't know, it's almost like a plot to make a normal woman, a woman living in reality, feel that she was not measuring up? Well, yeah. Yeah. That's part of it. That is part of it. How do you keep someone down if they have confidence that they are doing well? How do you keep somebody in their place if they're so sure of themselves that they know where they're going? So step number one is to keep women off balance. And, Susan, that's part of the reason why they're in high heels to boot. Okay, but wait. You're sounding a little like a conspiracy theorist, as if there is some cabal where they said, all right, we got to keep these broads off balance. Nothing like that ever happened. It was not a concerted, planned effort. How do you know? Oh, come on. How do you know that? Let's talk religion. How do you know that Paul didn't decide to oust women from Christianity in terms of leadership? How do you know that wasn't a group of men sitting around quite clearly making that decision? Well, now you've gone to the Paul. I'm more into Hollywood. I don't think that was. You really think that they said let's make sure that women? No, I don't think so. I think it's unconscious. I think it is. I don't think it. No. I don't think so. I think it's critical sex bias, critical sex theory. I think it's the exact same thing. And if it's so ingrained in the culture that men don't know that they're doing it, okay. Something ingrained it in the culture, something made that decision, and the people to whose benefit it inured decided quite clearly to keep it that way. And they do that to this day. And, that's it. I mean, those ultra-right Christian religions where the woman is clearly subservient. Ultra-right Christian religions? Wait, why did you get on? I'm coming to the Christians' defense here. What about Jews, Muslims? Oh, I'll go for the ultra religious of all. I was just thinking about an article about homeschooling that I was just thinking about an article that I just read, and it was about that group. But it's the same thing, it is a deliberately taught culture. Yeah, right. But it is so pervasive. It is so pervasive that, Christian, Muslim, Jew. Well, you're naming all religions which declared women to be subservient. And I'm sure there's more, but I don't know enough about Buddhism and Hinduism and and Zoroastrianism to know whether they did the same. But yeah. Oh, Susan, no, now that you did mention the New Testament a little bit. I came up with this question the other day. Nobody answered it. I sent it to our brother thinking he would. And he, of course, leapt right in. But I don't agree with a thing he said. So here's my question. There's another thought I had.
Gee, you're doing an awful lot of thinking. Yeah.
I know I am. That's why I can't sleep.
Oh, God.
So, why think of something really, think of humor. You know, I mean, to me, humor is one of the most important parts of life. If somebody doesn't have a sense of humor, I don't want to be around them. If I couldn't laugh, I'd have to cry all the time. Yeah. It's like, humor is just one of the greatest gifts that we have. And I was thinking, there is no humor in religion. There's no humor. Oh, wait a minute. A rabbi, a priest, and walked into a bar. There is no humor in the Bible. No. Okay, you say no very quickly. That's what I think. I have to say that it's not exactly like I'm a biblical scholar. But I thought that, our brother who knows a lot about a lot of stuff, I asked him. I said, surely somebody cracked a joke somewhere. No, not that, but some intellectual has talked about why this aspect of human life is so absent from the Bible that deals in everything of human life: sexuality, wars, corruption, menstruation, all of it, everything. Fairness, blah, 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 blah. Everything you're supposed. But where's the humor? It's such a startling absence. So here's what our brother wrote back to me. The Book of Jonah is a wonderfully comic tale. I'm laughing already. I know. What? How come I missed that? Do you remember laughing through the Book of Jonah? Is that the poor guy in the whale? Yes. Well, sure, that's a laugh riot. Right. Okay. So I don't think the Bible plays that for laughs, but Bill does. The Book of Jonah is a wonderful comic tale. Tale, by the way, is spelled T-A-I-L. It is truly clever, comical, and intentionally so. He says there's also a comic scene in Genesis when the three angels tell Sarah and Abraham they will conceive, and Sarah makes some remark about Abraham not being able to do it at his age. No. Ha ha ha. No, she probably just said, "Are you kidding me? The 155 years old." Well, she was 120. I know, and a Viagra hasn't been invented yet. Are you kidding me? Well, wait a minute. Which part? So he did answer your question. Yeah, but I don't think the Jonah is funny. I don't think Sarah saying that is a hearty har har har. I don't think that says there's humor in the Bible. And then he says, and then there are comic incidents in the Book of Kings. Actually, quite a few. The prophet Elisha, I don't know, is Elijah? It's not. He's spelled in a different. Is marked by some little kids in a village. He's passing through for being bald. I think Bill spoke this into it. So he doesn't like, and he doesn't like it when Vinton calls down bears to kill the kids, and the bears do so. Do not make fun of bald. What? He's saying that what? Bears killing kids who make fun of him?
Well,
he's bald
Bill has a weird sense of humor.
Bill says there's humor, and I wrote back, I don't think that's funny, and he wrote, I do, dark humor. Okay, so he's been, I at least got him back to where he's willing to acknowledge that maybe it's if you are willing to see dark humor, you can see some in the Bible. But
yeah, because mostly we're just supposed to be trembling in our boots in the Old Testament. Those are cautionary tales. And I'm spelling it Tales.
Tales. You misspelled it too.
Tales is what I said.
I swear you said Taels.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
You've got dyslexic hearing this morning. Yes.
It's on tape. Milton has written, Lynn, Susan, the phenomena, and we're going back to women, you're referring to is not fiction. I once dated a woman who had been married twice, who claimed that neither of her husbands had ever seen her without makeup.
Glad you got rid of her, Milton.
She'd wake up an hour before he did, spend that hour doing her makeup, then crawl back into bed and wait for her husband to wake up. I never believed her until the first episode of Mrs. Maisel, where Mrs. Maisel rises before her husband to do her hair and makeup.
Yep. I do not think that was uncommon. I mean, I don't.
Dear God in heaven.
And yeah, it made everybody feel like, oh my God, and did it once occur to me that no one cared how the guy woke up?
Well, see, but they didn't have to wear makeup to start with, so they looked like they look. I mean, guys didn't have.
No, women are taught that we hit puberty and we get ugly, and we better make ourselves look better, or it's just all downhill from there.
Right. So, geez. Okay. Well. Okay. Thank you.
It's like all the people that are screaming about Lizzo normalizing fat, and all the people that come to her defense going, I don't know, you danced for 2 hours singing and playing the flute. I think she's probably in really good shape.
Yeah, exactly right.
And it's just fatophobia,
Oh, God.
Which leads me to train of thought that have you been following how we've all been led down the garden path and probably harmed by the use of is a BMI, the fat gauge ratio is?
It's your body mass index.
Yeah, your body BMI. That's just a pile of crap.
Really? Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
That is a pile of crap, and in fact has been dangerous for a ton of people. Just inaccurate.
Okay. Well, good. Listen. Hey, you'll be glad to know, and I saw this in the New York Times today, because this is something. There's so many problems in the world. It's so good to see when, the best minds really work hard on solving them.
Oh, God, she's being sarcastic. What happened?
The FDA has approved a gel to treat erectile dysfunction.
Oh,
it
good.
works faster than Viagra. You just, massage that baby right on, and in 10 minutes, you got yourself an erection. The FDA has said, sure, go for it, and you don't need a prescription.
course not.
Now, here's something from a doctor, head of urology at. He's co-founder of something called Down There Urology Clinic in Chicago.
And he doesn't mean Australia. Yeah, okay.
No, I love him. That's great. You know, they hear euphemisms. People don't want it.
Right. It's not working down there.
Down there, there's some. Yeah. So he's got a co-founder of the Down There Urology Clinic, and his name is Jagan Cancel. I don't know. There's been such a big focus on erections, but we, as a sexual medicine society, have not focused on women.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Hey, Doc, tell us something we haven't noticed. Yeah. So this new option for men who can't get it up, it adds to an array, it says here, of drugs, surgical treatments, devices, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, there are only 2 FDA-approved options for treating low libido in women.
No, men don't care if you're enjoying it or not. It wouldn't occur to them, obviously.
Well, some men. It is called, by the way. You gotta wonder. There are people who get paid to come up with these names, and it's pretty good, I suppose, for this. It's called erectile.
Is the eroxa the one that's for women or for men?
I don't know. I've heard of get your rocks off.
That's what I was thinking. That's the one for men, right?
But it's ROX. It's erox. So you got that sort of erotica.
I know. Yeah, I know where they're going.
Rocks.
Yeah.
Now that is, I think, brilliant. And then underneath the Roxon, it says that it is a stim gel. There you go. And, oh.
Yes. Did you see that study about lab rats and Fruit Loops? They studied the effects of Fruit Loops and I think stress on the penises of a bunch of lab rats, which was unfortunately for the lab rats because the way they figured out the effects was to, chop off their penises and then gauge all that stuff. But it turns out, guys, that Fruit Loops are not good for your penises.
Any particular color?
All of them, not good. Also stress, but I think you knew that. But stress and Fruit Loops, you're going to need some of that eroxa.
Eroxon. So I want to know. No, I don't. I don't want to know why somebody decided to study
Fruit Loops
rats,
and stress on lab rat penises.
That's rats.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the world needs to know.
Well,
and besides, you couldn't test it on men and then kill them and cut off their penises. Although,
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting macabre now. What else is in your little file of we haven't talked about it?
I know it sounds interesting, he says, about eroxon, but I wonder how it tastes. Oh, go away. Well, if that comes into the picture, then it could be all gone. What they all do is stimulate blood flow.
Well, just go and get some pepper and put it on your... Just get some hot sauce.
Oh, dear God in heaven. Okay. Here's an old one I want to get rid of. Here's a headline. Meteorologist who was threatened over climate coverage leaves job. Do you believe this? Yeah, we believe this. The thugocracy that the right wing has unleashed in the country has come for a television weather guy in Iowa.
Who mentioned that the recent spate of 900-degree temperature could be due to climate change?
Yeah, he does think climate change is real. And he says, I can't take it anymore, and that he's got PTSD because he's been threatened for the last few years. And he just can't do it anymore. Here's one of the threats. What's your home address? We conservative Iowans would like to give you an Iowan welcome you'll never forget.
Wait, you know, these people are just such treasures.
Unbelievable. Yeah. He's accused of peddling liberal conspiracy theories on the air. Anyway, so this guy he's leaving television and he's joining some science thing that researches.
Oh, well, they don't do any better.
Well, he's just saying, I'm staying in the field. I'll just don't have to do. No,
but I'm saying that. But the people that are doing this to all sorts of people, and you know, and that's part of the. There are scientists that are terrified because they've been ferreted out by some right-wing group, and then their name emblazoned, and they get doxxed. It's just awful.
You hear the one? This is from like last week, because I think I was going to bring it up when you and Louie were on, and then I failed to do so because we got off on all kinds of other stuff. But did you hear about that high school in Philly, girls' high school, where at the graduation ceremonies, each girl would walk across the stage and be given her diploma by the principal. And 3 of the girls walked across the stage and got to the principal, and she just looked at them and motioned for them to go sit down.
What?
Here's what happened. They, in coming toward her, violated the very strict rules about walking the stage to get your diploma. You are not to gesture. You are not to, and they were told to tell their families that if anybody wooted or hollered, they wouldn't get their diploma. I mean,
why? You know, everything we're talking about lately makes me violent. I just ricochet from wanting to beat up this person to wanting to beat up that person, and I mean, it's a really strong physical urge to hurt somebody.
Yeah, I understand. Well, this principal, I mean, she might be in hiding by now, given what the reaction was. One of the girls clearly violated because she was so happy that she did a little shimmy, just a little, you know, and bang, that's it. The principal had a basket there. She actually was holding the diploma, and she
then threw it in the basket, right?
Yeah. What a vile. But it's interesting because some people wrote and said they were all told those were the rules. You know, those rules crowd. And then a lot of people saying graduations are a celebration, and telling people they can't be celebratory and I think that's true. But I do have to say, I think the celebratory part has gotten a little out of hand. You know, the hooting and hollering. That didn't used to happen.
Oh, it's happened because it's certainly happened every time, every graduation over which I presided. You bet, and frankly, I think this is just a snobby sort of thing where people aren't supposed to be so excited about a high school graduation. And in fact of the matter, a lot of people are very, very excited about a successful graduation from high school.
And let me just add this. The principal, I'm just putting a racial element in here.
Yeah.
All three girls were black. The principal was white. Okay.
Of course, and that's what I'm saying. And and a lot of the very noisy hoot and hollering does come from from the black students' parents, because it's a different thing. And by the way, when I just had a birthday party with my old friend, and it was a very large group of African Americans, my friend and her children and their spouses, and we were all out together. This was not a quiet crowd. Part of this is just, you cannot impose our white Protestant, keep your legs crossed and don't breathe values on everyone. That's not how regular people act, apparently.
God forbid. God forbid.
But that's what that is.
Think of like white people sitting in church, constipated, not moving, and then think of the joy of a black church.
Right.
I'm just saying. Yeah, I'll take the black church. Thank you very much. Hey.
Yeah, this was that friend, by the way, of whom I speak. That friend is.
Who that is? That's
I know, but she's the one that sang at my husband's funeral and brought the house down.
Okay, so. This just in, and this is good, because I had been worried about this. The Supreme Court, Jesus, has rejected by 6-3. Now that there's 3 who voted for is beyond belief. 6-3. What was called, what did they call this stuff? The state legislative theory.
Oh, thank goodness.
That if they had said this is okay, it would have given state legislatures unchecked power to decide who won
an election. It would give them the right to interfere with the election results.
Exactly. This was coming from from the
let's just fix this Trump crowd. Yes.
Yeah. So they got all the way to the Supreme Court with this particular bunch of hooey. And John Roberts wrote the majority opinion, and he said the Constitution does not exempt state legislatures from the ordinary constraints imposed by state law. Here's who dissented. I'll give you 3 guesses.
Oh, Thomas,
Alito, Gorsuch.
Of course.
This is that thing called the independent state legislature theory. And somehow it rose from, the dead relatively recently, with people actually arguing that it's beyond belief.
Well, people were actually arguing that they got to put in their own slate of electors. People were actually arguing, that's what they do. That means nothing. Those people will actually argue anything. Why listen to them?
Whoa. It says 4 of the conservative members of the court have issued opinions in the past that seemed to take the theory very seriously. Well, that's a bit of a dodged bullet for now. Unbelievable.
Okay, well, I can breathe on that one. I was worried.
Speaking of the Supreme Court, we haven't had a chance to talk about Alito and his fancy.
Alito and his pre-buttal.
Unfriggin' believable. I mean, it really is just unfriggin' believable. Here is a justice. The
New York Times is going to tell on me, and I'm going to tell you before they can tell on me, and it was no big deal, okay? That's it. It was no big deal. Signed,
it was not
Supreme Court Justice.
It was not New York Times.
Oh, it was Washington Post. Yeah.
No.
Oh, ProPublica. I forgot. ProPublica. You're right.
Okay, so he goes off on a private jet to some, fishing resort, luxury fishing resort, doesn't pay a penny for anything. All this from, again, a billionaire right-winger, Paul Singer, who then later has cases before the court. And Alito does not recuse himself. And in fact, of course, fines in favor of Mr. Singer.
But there's nothing to see here, for heaven's sake.
And what Alito wrote in his pre-buttal in the Washington, in the Wall Street Journal, was he wrote, recusal is required only when an unbiased and reasonable person who is aware of all relevant facts would doubt that the justice could fairly discharge his or her duties.
That's exactly right. There you go.
Exactly right. And there you go. But then he follows that with, no such person would think that my relationship with Mr. Singer meets that standard.
I beg to disagree. I do. Hands.
Beyond belief. He defended his decision.
It's like the Tennessee legislature. All in favor? Yeah, that's everybody. Here we go.
He defended his decision to accept, this is what Clarence Thomas used too, the personal hospitality of a friend.
Well, they made that all up.
To be reported. And so here's what... And
just to be clear, the personal hospitality of a friend is no. But explain what that means. That means, going out for a cup of coffee.
Okay. Okay. So here's what he does. He first says that he barely knew Mr. Singer.
Right.
Then he says he was taking this personal hospitality from him. So that begs the question. If you were such good friends, what were you doing ruling on this case? And if you weren't good friends,
he doesn't qualify.
What were you doing accepting his gift?
That's right.
So either way, this shows that Alito is hardly a genius when it comes to arguing a case. He's arguing his own case, and he's coming up pretty empty.
Lynn, you know that phrase, right? The lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client.
Yeah. And he also here was the other funny.
Or the client that represents himself has a fool for a lawyer. I don't know how it goes.
No. That's it. Anyway, he also said that there was an empty seat on this private jet that would have otherwise been vacant. What does that have to do with
absolutely nothing? I would have taken it.
Yeah. So next time you get on an airplane and you see an empty seat in first class, take it. You'll be doing someone a favor, I guess. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They're crooks.
They're crooks, but it just sounds so petulant. I mean, the argument really just sounded like a 3-year-old.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh. Okay, let me get some more stuff out of my...
I mean, I did it because I wanted to. There.
Oh, this is a riot. have you seen that two of the more brilliant minds in the Congress?
Oh, in the Congress, yes.
That would be, actually, it's in the House of Representatives.
Are we talking two women?
Yes.
Okay.
We're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Elise Stefanik. And they have introduced resolutions to expunge Donald Trump's impeachments. Now, understand, they happened. We all saw them happen. They are part of history. They cannot be expunged.
Oh, no, and then you can forbid anybody writing about it.
As if it never happened. They will say it never happened. This is taking this Republican need to create a alternative reality and history to an just a laughable. Well,
I don't really see how this particular group of people thinks what they're doing right now actually works for them, because the country, they're keeping the country from getting anything done. They're focusing only on their past failures.
That's right.
They continue to highlight everything they've done wrong. And waving their hands and saying, hey, we want to talk about this again so that and make it go away. I mean, they're just, and if you're in their district and you have actual issues that you want to see handled, these people aren't going to have anything to do with that.
Well, but this just shows, I mean, it's because Trump keeps this alive. That's all he talks about. And so they are doing this in fealty to him. But can you imagine, let's say this House passes such a thing. McCarthy's behind it. He says, yeah, it's a good idea. So, what's his name? Robinson in the Post says, well, wait a minute. So this passes. What about the pages in the congressional record that...
we got to rip those out.
Yeah, do those have to be ripped out of the congressional?
What about the audio tape of all the proceedings?
Yeah.
What about the television reports?
It's just beyond belief. And he ends up with, as Eugene Robinson ends up with, voters should expunge this GOP majority. In 2024, let's elect a Congress that actually wants to work to get things done, not only one that wants to posture. Yeah, they're just not serious people. No, they are not. They are not. They're playing a game. They
think they're on a reality show.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they're doing.
And they got to be part of the storyline. I mean, that's really the way they're behaving.
That's all it is. Yeah, no, that is it. It's not like you're saying something that's, that's it. I mean, did you see, they actually, this friggin' bunch of Republicans in the House censured Adam Schiff.
Oh, yeah. They tried to fine him, $8 million or something?
Yeah, some millions of dollars that they dropped. But they censored him, which makes him one of just 24 people in the history of the House that has ever been censured. And I assure you...
And did they do that to Santos? No.
And what was he censured for? For leading the impeachment.
For leading the impeachment. Right. For engaging in lawful, constitutional, and I would say, imperative behavior. It's ridiculous.
Well,
that's why the Democrats.
This is a performative bullshit.
Right.
That is all that we are operating without one branch of the government, and that is the legislative branch. It is not functioning because Republicans, well, they don't want it to. We've talked about who are these women, these mothers that raise a cry and get, the books banned.
There's 11 people across the whole country that are doing all of it.
But there is a group called Moms for Liberty.
Yeah.
That's the group. So the women who are doing it are with this group. Did you see a Moms for Liberty chapter somewhere put out a press release and in it quoted Adolf Hitler?
It doesn't surprise me.
No, they did it without batting an eye. They quoted Adolf Hitler. So I guess Mein Kampf, that book,
that passes muster.
Yeah. Just to make sure that you don't, lose sight of where these folks are coming from. Unbelievable.
Well, the only good news is that there are finally bunches of regular parents realizing that these people are ruining the public education system, and they are banding together and finally showing up. Yeah. And they need to show up, and they need to show up at the school board elections. They need to throw out the people that came in and allowed this to happen. They need to make a space for the good people to feel safe enough to do their job in spite of these people who not only like to ban books, but threaten you if you don't do what they want.
Mm-hmm. I ain't disagreeing with the thing you said. Do you recall the name Margaret Gillio?
Yeah.
Should.
Why?
No.
She was who was she? Why do I know her name?
You know her name. She's dead. I'm looking at her obit.
Oh, okay.
I am going to give you hints. She put a sign in her yard.
Oh, she's from Ladue. That's why I remember her. She was the First Amendment case for putting a political sign in her yard. Yes.
So let me tell you, this is the reason you would remember it is that she lives where Susan lived, and which is a nice, lovely suburb of the St. Louis. And when the Iraq War was gearing up, she put a sign in her front yard that I'm looking at right now. It says, "Say no to war in the Persian Gulf. Call Congress now." He put that out there. It was 3 by 2 feet, not not huge, humongous thing. And sign was stolen. And then she replaced it. That one was taken. She complained to the police, and the police said, "You're in violation of the law because we have an ordinance on the book that essentially says you can't put any sign up in your yard." And that was because aesthetically it would offend the beauty of the neighborhood.
Well, that's true. They also didn't want for sale signs in front of, lest just anybody see them. This is a very exclusive. It's not where I lived. It's a very exclusive part of the suburban St. Louis area. Yeah.
Okay. Well, their rationale, they said, was aesthetic. Anyway, that goes all the way to the Supreme Court.
Right. It's a First Amendment case. Right.
And she had the help of the ACLU. And Supreme Court heard the case in 1994. And the guy who came to her aid, a guy named Justice Antonin Scalia, And he wrote this. He said that Ledoux's ordinance that actually had a provision that allowed rectangular flags but banned triangular pennants was pretty stupid. That was Elise. That was Scalia.
That is Scalia.
Not mincing words. He says, that's pretty stupid. You mean, and he went on to say, tell me why. Why triangles are worse than rectangles. Unanimous decision. Support of Margaret Gillio. And Ledoux had to pay her legal fees, and history was made. So,
yeah, well, it's okay. They could afford it.
So good for her. She,
oh yeah, well that's
like,
she was like that was pretty radical for her to be doing that in Tony Ledoux. Yeah, she was. I apologize for. Yeah, it was just. I wasn't thinking of Ledoux names. So, well, rest in peace. Yeah,
she was 84.
Yeah.
Oh, what else? I got so much stuff here. Did you see Putin's speech yesterday?
It was weird, yes.
Yeah, it was weird on a lot of levels, but it was weird in that, again, it's like listening to Republicans. He was not talking about the reality that we all saw. He said that the Russian people united and stopped this.
Right.
No,
and we all saw what they did. They waved and took selfies.
Yeah. The only Russian people we saw during this whole thing were loving the insurrectionists. They didn't in any way mind them walking into their town and taking it over. They were posing for selfies.
No, they pretty much swept the streets in front of them.
Right. So for him to then go on and say that, and then today he praised the Russian military for stopping this, for saving the country from civil war. Excuse me? They were nowhere to be seen. What are you freaking talking about?
Well, that's what makes this so interesting, because now the Russian people have reason to begin to doubt whether he's been lying to them all along, because this they did see with their own eyes. It's like the Republicans telling us that those were nice tourists on January 6th.
That is right.
Sorry, we saw it. No gaslighting allowed here. There's just too many witnesses. And it's the same with this. So it weakens him. I mean, I'm just sitting back, it's a different show than I thought I was going to watch, but it's still interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Without a doubt. I mean, I've been riveted by it. It was pretty fascinating.
I still can't figure out why he turned around. I mean, unless he was,
what was he going to do?
Like the Republicans that got abortion and realized, oh, what if I get this?
Oh, wait, yeah, right. They caught he's the guy, the dog that caught the bus. I don't know. He's this emotional, mercurial he maybe hadn't quite thought it through, or something fell through, or he realized he'd screwed. I don't know. What was he thinking he was going to do? Get to the Kremlin and overthrow the government? He had no intention of doing that. So what was he going to do? It's just bizarre. Anyway, he's a dead man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a dead man.
Yeah, yeah.
And for that matter, Putin might be a dead man too. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the part that's interesting. He's certainly weakened. He's certain,
Yeah, thank God. That's all for the good. So I came across this, and it's worthy of note. because some Republicans are starting to get squeamish about aspects of capitalism. Doesn't get a lot of press, but they sound a little like progressive sometimes. And you won't believe who. Would you believe if I told you that Senator Elizabeth Warren has collaborated on a bill with Senator Hillbilly J.D. Vance, Trumper of Ohio? And the bill would claw back executive pay at failed banks.
Well, good.
Yeah. So that kind of excess, that disgusting excess, you can get a Trumper like Vance to partner with Elizabeth Warren.
Well, you know what they say, the extremes of both sides are the same people.
Meat. Well, they end up in meat.
They meet at the other end, right.
Marco Rubio has signed a public letter calling for the reinvigoration of collective bargaining. What? And praising the German approach, in which labor unions play a larger role in the economy.
Wow.
I know, Rubio published a book this month called Decades of Decadence that criticizes the past 30 years of globalization, which is capitalism.
Well, and it is gluttonous. I mean, you know.
Yeah. So, but this is, I mean, I'm just sharing this with you because it's like, what? And it's worth noting. Senator Todd Young of Indiana, another Republican, has helped write a bipartisan bill to restrict non-compete agreements.
Also good.
Also good. Which companies use to prevent their employees from leaving their job. I always had an NDA when I worked for somebody.
Right, you would prevent. They literally shut you up for a period of months.
Well, mine was always at least a year. You know, if you left a station, you could not show up at another station. And Senator Tom Cotton, part of a bipartisan group who began pushing for federal subsidies to expand domestic semiconductor manufacturing. And Biden signed a version of that just last year. Also, Cotton, Rubio, Vance, and Young, those are these Republicans, spoke at a conference called Rebuilding American Capitalism, a handbook for conservative policymakers. And here's what one of them said. We really like capitalism, but we recognize it's not working right now.
Right, because they took away all regulation.
That's right, because it's unregulated. Who did that? Republicans did it.
I mean, the best example is Ma Bell, which was found to be a monopoly and broke up and then quietly ate itself again.
That's right.
As the regulations went away, it just became its own self again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then very quickly, oh no, we're done. Boy, I worked through a lot of that stuff, Suze. I want to thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
That was my grab bag. I only have one more show. That's tomorrow, and then I'm on vacation until Susan. I should tell you this. I'm not going to do a show from Green Bay.
Okay.
I'm on vacation until July 10th. Okay.
Cool.
I know. You won't know what to do with myself.
You can go boxing with me. It's really good for me. Imagine if I didn't have that outlet with my continuing violent tendencies. I just put on the gloves and go and batter poor Bob.
Okay, well, I think you better go batter him. I know, because you still got, there's lots of stuff to work out there. Yeah. Okay.
It's very good for everybody. Just try it.
It is. That is true. We know that's true. All righty, you. Thank you so very much.
Okay, see you soon. I love you. Be safe.
Love you too. Bye. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.